welcome to Find and Feed and Fox, and where we're going to cut through the hype and we're going to get straight to the nitty-gritty of catching fish. At Fox, we're passionate about carp fishing, whatever their size, and the aim is to put more fish in the net and enjoy your time on the bank. We're here at Drayton Reservoir, a prolific carp lake in Daventry, and we've got 4 big hitters ready to share their knowledge with you. They'll be pitting their wits against each other and the carp to show that carp fishing can be made easy if you get it right. Whether you're a big carp hunter or simply a pleasure angler that wants to go out and catch a few fish, the advice we've got in this film cannot fail to help you catch more carp. A lot of people think carp fishing is difficult, but here we're going to show you that it's as simple as finding them, feeding them and foxing them. In the green team we have Mark Bartlett, who is one of the hottest anglers on the competition scene today. He set the world record for the biggest weight caught in 48 hours at this very venue and is well known as an awesome hauler of big carp as well as a tactical genius. In fact, he's that hot his hair's caught fire. 2 Marks make up the green team, with awesome all-rounder Mark Pitchers proving his worth time and time again with his Traveller series and Crafty Carper magazine. Carp all over the world fear the big fella whose skills are adaptability under pressure. In the black corner we have one of the finest technical minds in the country, Scott Day. He's publicity shy but is responsible for many of the top products you see on the market today. Along with his regular fishing buddy, he set the world alight in 2012 with arguably the best catch of big carp ever recorded, including 2 over 80, 1 over 70 and countless 50s and 60s, as well as UK carp to over 50 pounds from some of the UK's toughest carp waters. Also flying the flag for black, we have an angler who is absolutely at the top of his game, big fish hunter and media manager at Fox, Mr. Lewis Porter. Captor of carp over 44 pound in the UK, who's proven that he can practice what he can preach, so it's the management against the shop floor today in the clash of the titans. Well, that's a formidable lineup, and the lads are going to be battling it out in these tough conditions over the next 24 hours to see whose tactics are the best. Now, it's 25 degrees here today. It's not really carp fishing conditions, but I tell you what, you can be absolutely rest assured that whether it's on the bottom or alternatively up in the water, these boys here will know exactly what to do to get into the Drayton Carp posse. Mark playing the fish there with his tip very low, typical match tactic. It's a tactic that a lot of the match anglers are bringing into carp fishing. We've seen it quite a lot through the big carp matches in the UK now. Guys play them in, put in a reasonable amount of pressure, keep that tip low to the water and you can get those fish really, really quickly in. No stress, no hassle, there's been no splashing around everywhere. Just getting the landing net ready there. You'll notice here that Mark's actually got an extra long landing net handle. The fish is on the top there, a fair way out, and Mark's got an extension on his landing net handle to allow for exactly this situation. When you're zig fishing, if you've got a 9, 10, 11, 12 foot hook link, but you've only got a 6 foot landing net handle, it can be actually quite tricky to get them into the net. But there, the net's waiting on the surface, no mess, he's pulling it straight up, and there, look at that, straight in, no problem whatsoever, and the extra length on the landing net handle makes that job significantly easier. So, in the bag for the green team. Well, there's a few fish coming out now, but one of the inherent problems with fishing here is boards, Mark. Now, you travel all over the country. How do you cope with boards fishing?
I've got to say, it's the first time I've actually ever bivvied up on boards, but it's absolutely no dramas at all. Fox have got these nifty little S-pegs. Basically, it's a lightweight screw on like a little T-bar, and they just screw straight into the board, no problem at all. Bivvy, absolutely rock solid.
It's actually quite nice as well, because it's nice and flat, isn't it?
Totally flat, yeah.
So we can get it all nice and tight.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk about your bivvy. You're fishing under the Reflex.
My fishing, it takes me all over the country with my series I do in Crafty Carper, the Traveller. I get to fish waters all over the country and in Europe. And the Reflex, it just suits me absolutely perfectly. It's lightweight, yet it's so spacious inside. And also on really warm days like this, it's got the air vents in the front and the back, so it still stays nice and cool.
It's quite a big version of the aluminium frame design, so it's lightweight.
Yep.
Quick to put up.
Yep. And very roomy.
And you can fish it as a bivvy like this with the front on. You can vent it, or alternatively you can zip the front off and have it as a shelter.
Off, have it as like an open front shelter. So it's very, very versatile bivvy.
Well, Mark, that's the bivvy dealt with. Let's have a look at your setup. How on earth do you get your bang sticks in?
I'll come over here and I'll show you, Rob. These are the Black Label stage stands. Now what they are is a nice neat little stand with a hole in the bottom which a screw fits through, and it's simply a case of screwing them directly into the boards. And what you've got, you have a 3-inch insert which is for the front rest, because obviously your buzzers are probably 3-4 inches tall, and for the back rest you have a nice tidy little 5-inch telescopic stick which fits in. And what that does, obviously it means your rods run nice and flat and low to the ground.
Well, it certainly makes it look good, doesn't it?
I think it's a proper tarty little setup.
And proper tarty, check out the glasses, this is the man. Anyway, moving on from that, you've also got these little babies in the snag ears.
Yeah, little Black Label snag ears, just if you get any really savage, violent takes, it just stops the rod from being pulled off the alarm.
And that's it. It certainly looks pretty damn fine.
Does the job.
Oh, here we go.
Yep, that's a bite.
Well, would you believe it? We're looking at the setup and lo and behold, off it rattles. But the clutch going elsewhere then as well. Getting a bit hectic.
I wasn't expecting that to rattle off like that.
I'm going to get out your way.
Been mixing in the odd few floaters in with the sloppy spod mix, and I've noticed the odd fish just coming up, just taking a few floaters. So I just increased the zig from about a foot below the surface to about a foot over depth, about 15.5 foot.
It's interesting seeing your playing style as well. You're playing with the rod in the air. Mark plays with the rod tip down by the water. Any reason?
I think it's just personal preference, whatever you feel comfortable with, really. I think there are times you've got to keep the rod down low, crank them in. This one's been quite cooperative. I'm only using a very, very tiny lead. It's only an ounce. So even when you wind it right up into the tip ring, it doesn't really affect the balance of the rod, it doesn't affect the playing of the fish, it doesn't feel awkward and clumsy. That's about all the line I can gain now, so it's a good job I've got the extension and the landing net handle.
There he is, he's looking fairly safe now. And this is the benefit of that long landing net handle. Bang, he's in. Another one for Pitchers and Bartlett. Now, finding them was one of the most important aspects of carp fishing, and of course the guys here, they're in a max stretch. They're not allowed to move, so they've got to find them within their swim. They could be that way, or alternatively, they can be up and down in the water. Now, I'm going to have a quick chat with Mark. Mark, you've zig fished here quite a bit. You've set the world record for the most fish caught in a 48-hour match, and most of those were on zigs, weren't they? Just talk us through your zig setup.
Yes, Rob. It's quite a simple setup, to be honest. It's just a straightforward leg clip that you would use as you fish on the bottom. Just in this instance, there's no tubing or lead core, because the fish will never be around the lead. It will be the depth of your hook length away from it all the time. On this leg clip, you have a peg pushed through the side, which stables the swivel inside.
So it's never going to pull off. Oh, I can hear a click going on there. I'm going to grab that off
got
you.
a bite already.
Excuse me, chaps. I'll grab that.
You take that.
You can get on with the business down there.
And we're in.
Now then, where were we? Put that one down, you're not allowed to fish again because I want to talk to you about this thing. So, we've got your slick lead clip, it's got the peg in, and I noticed first of all, the size of the lead, you've got a 4-ounce lead. Now a lot of people say with zigs you want a small one.
Yeah, a lot of people do use the smaller leads. I prefer the bigger ones, just generally because I want to tighten the line up as quick as I can, because a lot of the time the fish, they're coming to the noise. You chuck a few spods out, that they're instantly looking for something, and by hitting the clip and making a decent plop, you can also tighten your line up very quickly, and
draw the fish into the noise.
Yeah, they'll respond to the noise. Yeah, again, I got that from my match fishing, and you can get a bite within a few seconds, so it's instant. You can tighten up against the heavy lead a lot quicker than what you would with a smaller lead, and you're fishing.
Cool.
You know, with a heavy lead, straight away, if there's any movement at all, it's more than likely a bite.
Well, let's look at the setup there. Underneath that sleeve, you've got a quick release swivel, or a quick change swivel, should I say. So moving down, you've got the Zig and floater line. Now that's in 12 pound rather than 9 or 15. What's the idea behind that?
I think it's just an all-rounder in the middle. It's strong enough to do anything you want in England. You can catch £40 carp on that. I think the 9 is more suited to floater fishing, and the £15 is something that you use maybe on the
if there's a bit of risk around.
Yeah, or if you're in a snag.
Let's look at the business end as well, because different people use different floater hooks. There's yours. That's very, very small.
Yeah, this is a size 10 short shank straight point, this one, with just a very small piece of yellow foam. A lot of the time you don't need to use a massive hook bait. I think a lot of people make the mistake of going too big, and this one is actually, I've based it around the size of an 8mm coarse and carp pellet, which a lot of the anglers use on here. Just something a bit brighter to catch the fish's attention amongst my spod mix in the cloud.
Super. Well, it certainly seems to be working at the moment. You've got no rods fishing.
No.
I'm going to hand you that one back. You can get back in the competition.
Thank you.
We'll have a look at that fish in a minute. Cheers.
I've just felt the lead down there. I fish my little setup a bit different to most people. I fish tight lines, quite tight clutches. It's a little bit unorthodox, not heard of in carp fishing, but in this case, because I'm fishing up in the water, the line concealment will play no part in my fishing at all. So the benefit will be that I'll get a bite registration straight away, instantly, as the fish picks up the hook bait. So I'll just pop this on the rest and show you how I clip my bobbin on. That's just on there. That's a very light little bobbin. You don't need a heavy bobbin because you're fishing such a tight line anyway. The clutch is tight. Again, that's a fairly tight clutch, just enough to stop the rod from sliding forwards. Got a little tip for you here. For my match fishing, I like to be on the ball, have everything close to hand and be quick. So to do this, I've got a rigid rig case in here. I've got all my Zig Rigs. They're pre-tied on a little compartment which pops out, so you can tie them up, untie them, get them off nice and easy without making a mess. That clips back in, and then on the other side for the night time, I've got my ready tied bag rigs. They're off the shelf, saves me tying them up, to be honest, and they're all stored in there, and I have that on to hand wherever I go. And there's a little ruler on the front to measure your zigs, to make sure you're fishing in the mid-water and not on the surface. So, job's a good one.
Mr. Bartlett in yet again. Mr. Pitcher's catching fish. The boys next door looking a bit concerned. Lewis is on it. Scott's having an ice cream actually as we speak. But Marky B, despite the fact that he's covered in spod, is now into yet another carp, doing what he does best. Once again, the big landing net comes out the Horizon XT. He's got to watch now that it doesn't go through his teammates' lines and cause him a bit of a problem. But it's very interesting watching Mark Bartlett's playing style. He does play him quite low, and the other thing is that there's always a good bend in the rod. There's no messing around. Fish right under our feet now. Looks a good double. Bang, that's in the net as well. And these boys are streaking ahead at the moment. Well, I'm down with Lewis now, and I notice he's using an adjustable Zig rather than a standard fixed rig. Lou, what's the idea behind that?
Flexibility is the main aim with this rod, whereas the other guys are fishing with a static Zig that's at a fixed depth. By using an adjustable Zig, I'm able to vary the depth at which I fish by simply removing line or adding line to the reel.
And it's just a very, very quick way of finding where they are in that water column, isn't it? You're not going to chop your rig up, you can just crack on, move that up and down, and you find where they are.
Exactly. It's a great tool, especially at the start of a session when you're unsure of what depth the fish are sat at.
So just talk me through the setup that you've got there.
Well, what I've got here is the Halo adjustable Zig kit. Basically it comes supplied with a boom to which you attach your lead. I've gone for a 4-ounce lead. That's for good hooking potential, and also helps me when I'm moving the float up and down through the water column not to drag the lead because it's holding bottom at 4 ounces. At the end of this stiff boom section is a very large ring here, and that just enables the float again to move very easily up and down through the water when I'm allowing it to take line. The Zig float itself will rise through the water when I take a foot of line off the reel. At the same time, when I put a foot of line back onto the reel, the float
Comes
will come
back down again.
To the end of the float, attach a 3-foot hook link, which is tied very much the same way as the guys would tie for their fixed Zig, and simply would attach to the swivel with a little anti-tangle sleeve over the swivel just to help prevent tangles. I can cast back out, hit the clip, feel the lead down and the float down, and I know it's on the bottom.
Okay, hooking arrangement?
I've gone for something here that you'd maybe see more often on a bottom bait rig rather than on a Zig rig. I've gone for a trimmed down liner sleeve, and that's just pushed over the eye of the hook. That just increases the gape of the hook, and also imitates the tail section of an emerging larvae that would be coming up through the water. For the hook bait, I've gone for a little bit of yellow foam. In the spod mix we're using, we've got sweet corn, so it's sort of imitating a piece of sweet corn falling through. And the hook itself is a armour point, and it's the SSSP, which is a short shank straight point hook. I prefer the straight point for the Zig rig because I just feel as if you're going to get a bit more instant purchase when the hook goes into the fish's mouth, and it's devilishly sharp, which is again vital when you're fishing on a Zig rig.
Fantastic. Now I notice also on your lap there you've got an orange cap. What's that for?
I have indeed. Well, as I said, the Zig float itself is called a halo, and that's because you can change the top of it, the sort of the halo around the top of the
So
float.
it's perfect. If you're fishing a long way out then you can put the orange top on, it works as a marker, you can see a lot better.
Indeed, simply unscrew the green top, screw the orange top on. If I'm fishing at a range of say 60 yards plus, I would use that. I can allow it to the surface to find my depth, and then simply reel it in, put the green cap back on once I know how deep it is out there, because the green is far less conspicuous out there.
Cool.
So okay, before I cast out, I'm going to show you a little tip to ensure that you don't suffer a single tangle when using the Zig float. Simply wrap a high rosa dissolvable foam nugget around the stem, like so, and then nick the hook just into the side of it like that. This ensures that during the flight of the cast the hook link cannot tangle. Once it hits the surface, this foam nugget will break away, leaving the hook to come free, and it'll be guaranteed anti-tangle. Okay, so I've got the reel clipped up at about 60 yards range, and that's in 14 feet of water. I know this because I've used the Halo float earlier on to plumb the depth just like a marker float. So the foam's on and we're ready to cast. So here we go. Nice and simple, easily back, up, out. Just gonna hit the clip any minute, bang, on the surface. I'll feel it down on a tight line, just like I would do fishing any other way. Hits the bottom, nice. I'm gonna leave the line in the clip just for now, walk it to the alarm. Bring it out the clip, so still on a nice tight line. Pop it in. Okay, so it's on the bottom. We know that because the float is 1 foot and the tail's half a foot and the hook link is 3 foot, the hook bait is currently 4.5 feet off the lake bed. Now I want to fish 2 foot below the surface, and like I said before, it's 14 foot deep. So I now need to let off a further 7 feet of line, or 7.5 feet of line. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So we now know that the hook bait is 12 foot off the bottom in 14 feet of water in the prime area that I want to try to get a bite. Yep. Double hook up. Double look.
Here we go.
Double hook up, boys.
Oh, here we go.
Yours must have been right on the surface, look, because it's flat spotted where it's hit.
Well, it just goes to show that when you get your tactics right down here, double hookups are a possibility, and both Scott and Lewis are currently into fish now. Good fish just coming in now, just off the rod tips down here. Now this is going to be the danger time. Scott's fish and Lewis's fish are very close to each other. Scott's fish there just out in the water. They were about a rod length apart. If they tangle with each other, they can't assist each other at this stage, both on the zigs. Scott on a normal zig, decent mirror coming in there on the black foam. Oh, battle right by the net. What's going to happen with this one? It's coming. No, it's not. It's back out again. They have to be just a little bit careful. Lewis playing a very, very cautious game at the moment. He's just letting that fish run out of Scott's way because, of course, if he brings it in, he runs the risk of losing both fish. So because Scott's closest, Lewis has very, very cleverly just let his fish run out a little bit further. Let Scott get his out the way. As soon as that's in the net, he'll be helping his teammate. Bang, there it is. Scott's is in the net. Here we can see the adjustable zig float just coming in. Fish just coming in the net now. And it's in. Two fish, very, very quick succession.
That's the one.
Well, here's a nice little touch from the Carp Master Matt. Very easy to put fish back in. Pop it on the water, unzip the front, and it's a really nice shiny surface in there. The fish, there's no carrying them, no changing over, putting it into a different sling or carrying mat. Just slide it off and then out he goes. Now, if you want success, accuracy is the key, both where you put your bait and where you put your rig. And believe me, this man here is, without any shadow of doubt, one of the most accurate that I have ever seen fish. Mark, you've got a marker float set up here. Talk us through it and what you do with it.
Yeah, basically, Rob, if you want to be successful, I do believe that you've got to be accurate in carp fishing. Whether you're fishing for a lot of bites or whether you're just fishing for a one-off big fish, this will play a big part in your fishing, and it makes it a lot easier as well, to be fair. The rod is a specific Horizon XT marker float rod, and on the blank is actually positioned marker points at 6 inches and 12 inches for you to measure how much line you're paying off until the float reaches the surface.
What about the braid there? You're using braid rather than nylon?
Yeah, nylon is not really the thing that you want to be using for marker floating. The braid is a specific braid for marker floating. This is a 23-pound Exocet braid, which is designed for the job, so it suits me. On the front of the spool, like the last couple of meters of the line there, I've got a 45-pound Armadillo shock leader. This stops me from cracking off on big casts when I'm fishing further out on bigger lakes, and to be fair, it makes just things a lot easier.
So let's look at the marker float setup itself. There it is. This comes in kit form, doesn't it? And basically the marker float works by the lead is cast out and you can let line up. That will float to the surface, and if you count the numbers, that's how deep it is. So yes. It really is as simple as that. But talk me through the kit itself. That lead isn't a normal lead.
No, this is a specific marker lead. It's got the little knobbly bits on the side of the lead. That's a 3-ounce lead. That's fine for most of the marker work that I want to do. And this will, when you cast out into the lake and you drag it along the bottom, this will send a better vibration up the braid, giving you a better response on the rod, so you'll feel the lake bed a lot more than what you would with a straight, narrow shaped lead which would skip across the bottom.
You've got a boom there as well. What's the idea behind the boom?
Yeah, the boom will just stop it all tangling up, and also if you're casting out into any weed, it will still enable you to register the depth, because if you just have the lead tight to the float there, a lot of the time, especially in silkweed and stuff like that, you won't be able to pay the line off and count the depth. So it makes life a bit easier for that as well. That
ring there is a very important piece as well, isn't it? It's a nice big ring. This comes as part of the Exocet kit, and it allows that to pass through very easily. Bead to stop it flying back, and then the float. Yeah, the float is obviously a major part as well, because you want to see where you're fishing, so you can chuck your leads to the float to clip up, ready to put your bait out and stuff. Also, it's got interchangeable tips on the end of the float,
I mean, the orange one is perfect for today, but in a dull light condition, maybe a yellow one, and in a really sort of
Bright conditions,
light.
you can go with the black one as well.
Yeah, that's right. So you can change them to suit, just so you're not squinting or struggling to see the float, really.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to give that back to you now. I'd like you to cast it out into the pond and just talk us through the full process of what you do.
Right, okay. To make sure that it's a bit easier, I always put my left foot just facing to where I want to go, because when you cast out, your body will respond to that, and it will centralise and it will go forwards to where your left foot is facing. You just put your back foot easy, and just a nice steady. The rod's quite powerful as well, so a little flick and that's easily gone 50 yards there straight away. So just tighten the line up a little bit, because we've got a side wind here. It's best to get a straighter line to the lead, direct contact, so you get an accurate reading on the float. So you can feel that now, that's tight to the lead. And I hold the reel close to my body, flick the free spool on, and basically you've got to remember you've got the boom on there now, so you have to start on 1. So you've got 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, it's just popped up now. That's a little bit more than 15, so I know that if I just twist the spool back a little bit, that's about 14.5 foot there. So I now know the depth, and what I'll do now is I'll drag the float back down to the lead and then gently pull it across the bottom, and that will give me a reading of what the bottom is actually made of. So we're just gonna pull this across the lake bed now, nice and steady. Keep the rod low. If you go pulling the tip up too high, it'll bounce the lead across the bottom and you won't get a very good reading. So you can see there, just the way that's coming in, that's almost feels like big rocks. If you were fishing a large clear gravel pit, you'd probably encounter a lot more weed and the bottom wouldn't be as clear as this. Whereas you'd have to look for the clearer areas. There again, you can tell. Good to go again there.
Once you've found them, feeding them is the next most important aspect of the carp fishing jigsaw. You can't just chuck a load of bait in and catch fish. You've got to do it with precision, and this man here knows exactly what to do. Scott, you've proven time and time again that good bait and good bait application is the key. So what are you doing at the moment?
Well, obviously, Rob, we've taken some fish on zigs today, and we've taken that by spodding out some soup. So what we'll do is we'll make a little soup up, show you how we do it.
Right, far away.
I've scalded some pellet. Reason why I've scalded some pellet is just to speed the process up. I want the bait broken down so it's nice and mushy, and then we're going to add to that some hemp and corn. So you see, you've got some hemp and corn in there. So we'll add a good couple of handfuls of hemp and corn, and then what we're going to do is add some ground bait to it as well. So I'm putting a good couple of handfuls of ground bait.
And your aim is to get a bit of a cloud in the water?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm putting the ground bait in. And with the pellet, now that it's scalded down, it's going to be nice and mushy, and the whole mix is going to be nice and mushy, just to create that cloud. So we put some ground bait in, and then I'm going to add some crushed boilies. This is just crushed fusion. So we'll add some of those in there.
A few bigger chunks on there to get a little bit of bait down on the bottom as well?
Definitely, and what we want to add to that, as you've said there with them bigger points, is some 10mm boilies. So we'll put some 10mm boilies in there. There's some Mark 1 and some Cell in there. Obviously with the corn as well, we've got 10mm boilies, bigger pieces of broken boilie and some corn. Just so we've got that element of some large particles of bait to get down to the bottom. What we'll also do is put some non-scalded pellet in there, so we'll put a couple of handfuls of that. And then we want to make a cloud, so perfect stuff to do this is evaporated milk. So we'll just pour a nice tin of evaporated milk in there. A couple of handfuls of maggots. It's nice to have a bit of movement in the mix. And then we'll finish it off with a nice squirt of attractive syrup. This again is a nice milky, cloudy liquid. So, nice condensed milk flavour, so it goes in well with the evaporated milk. And then we've got to mix the whole lot up. But we want it nice and mushy, so we'll mix it up and see how the consistency goes. We're obviously going to need to add some water. But it's getting there, it's not too far away. So it's nice and soupy. We've got those larger particles in there to get to the bottom. The crushed boilies with the ground bait and the scalded pellet is making a nice soupy consistency. We'll just add a little bit more water to it. Give that another mix around. That's looking a little bit more like it. I'll just check the consistency just by throwing a little bit in the margin. We want to see it, just to see it cloud up. So throw a little bit in. It's just making a nice cloud in the water. So that's what we're trying to achieve. The smaller particles are falling through the water, and the larger particles are going to fall through the water and start baiting up the bottom for us. Okay, and now for the messy bit. We're going to get some of that soup out into the lake. For that we're going to use a spod. I'm using a specialist spod rod, and a Horizon XT spod rod. My reel is loaded up with braid and a mono tapered shot leader. It's a tapered leader so that the knot to the braid is nice and small, so it goes through the rings really smoothly. Okay, and onto the spods. We've got a couple of spods in the range, the Exocet spods. We have this little fella and its bigger brother here. Both of these spods come with an insert. Basically, you can put the insert into the spod and screw the nose cone back on. We'd use the insert if we're using boilies. So if we put boilies in there, we had a little bit of water, and the insert will retain the water to give us the weight. But for this reason, or for this job, I'm going to use just the spod without the insert, because we've got soup in there and I want the spod to land into the water and the water to flush through the spod to let the particles out. The spods are tapered. This allows a little bit of weight forward in the spod, just to make it fly truer. Okay, so we're going to put some bait into the water using the Exocet spod. Most importantly, what I need to do is keep the bait tight and accurate. So I've already marked the spot that I want. I've put the line into the clip in the spod reel. What I'm going to do is choose a feature on the far bank margin. On this occasion, there's a tree that's higher than any other trees around. So obviously I can see it in the day, but also at night, because it's a higher point in the sky, I can see that at night as well. So I can bait accurately at night and in the day. So we'll put a little bit of bait out. What I'm going to do to start with, I'll probably put about 10 spods to start with, just to get some bait into the area. I'm lining up with my spot. I want to cast out, but just let it gently hit the clip. So it gently hits the clip and then the spod just drops onto the water, nice and softly. And them holes in the spod now, all that soup's going to wash out and start dropping down through the water. So, as we say, I'll put probably about 10 to start with. And then the fish would predominantly tell you when they want feeding. So if I've caught a couple of fish, put a few more spods out to top it up. If things have gone quiet, then generally you can put a little bit more bait out just to get the fish back feeding again. Because we're zig fishing, that bait's going to drop through the water column. So if there's no bait gone out there for any length of time, obviously hook bait sat out there on its own with no bait around. So the introduction of a couple more spods gets them moving around and hopefully gets you a bite again. Okay, so I'll put some more out. Just like I say, get about 10 to start with. Get the spod nice and full. I'm going to take that mark on the far bank again, that tree. I just want to kiss the clip, so I don't want to hit it too hard. So feather it down, hit the clip, bang. That bait's just dropped into the water now nice and quietly, and those particles are going to drop through the water column again. As you can see, the holes in the spod also help the spod on the retrieve because it stays up on the top of the water. Makes the job a little bit easier.
you've played a bit of a sneaky tricky. You've got the fish absolutely going ballistic on the surface.
Well, I've been quite crafty really today, Rob. I've been mixing in a few floating pellets and a few floating casters in with my sloppy Zig mix. And there's been fish coming up, taking the odd floater right through the day. But now the wind's dropped, I've just started sticking in a few floaters short, and look at it, it's just a cauldron. They're just going mental.
Being adaptable, being the traveller, having the kit, you've got a floater rod with you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've got my set of rods that I use for my all-round fishing, but I do like a nice sort of dedicated rod for my floater fishing. This is a Stalker 12 foot, 2¼ pound. Real nice, lightweight rod, nice through action, so it means I can get away using light hook links if I need to. In this situation, I wouldn't really need to. And this is the floater setup I'm using. The hook bait is my homemade artificial mixer. It's basically balsa wood with rich tea biscuits glued to it, and that's fished really tight on a hair to a size 10 triple SP hook. Small, lightweight, very sharp but very strong. And the line that's fished on is the 12-pound Zig and Floater hook link. Very strong, you can crank these fish in, no problem at all. Floats really well and it's nice and invisible too. And the float I'm using is one of the bolt bubbles. Now they come in a range of sizes, but I like to use the extra large. And the reason I like to use such a big float, even though I'm fishing at short range, is quite often I'll cast past the fish as not to spook them, and then just wind it slowly in amongst all the feeding fish, and it won't cause any disturbance, it won't sort of spook them and stop them from feeding in among the swim. And also, the extra large float, it really does emphasise that bolt effect.
It's got a big shoulder on it, isn't it? Just looking on the front there.
Yeah.
That's a real bolt rig, and also you weight it with water to get casting.
That's it, yeah. And that bolt effect, you get away using nice short hook links. You don't have to pay much attention to the actual hook bait itself. Quite often you'll see an eruption on the surface, the fish is hooked, and that's it, and you can concentrate more on feeding the swim.
Right, well I reckon you should get one out there because they are absolutely desperate for it.
Let's do it. Again, cast it past them, so not to spook them. Cast it past, just wind it gently in amongst them all. I've just sneaked that in right in amongst them feeding fish, and it hasn't fazed them in the slightest. One of the good things about fishing these bolt bubbles is the takes are usually pretty savage, so you can actually just put the rod down on the alarms while you concentrate on feeding the swim, which is what I'm going to do now. Here we go. You can see the rod really doing its job now. You can see the curve on it, sort of cushions, really cushions any pressure on the hook link. So you can get away with using slightly lighter hook links, which can be key if the fish are feeding a little bit more finicky on the surface. There we go. Get him an hook to get another one caught now. Well, the floater fishing has really paid off as that light level's been fading. Fish been going absolutely balmy. I'll tell you what, the black team have got some catching up to do now. I think this one's in the bag.
as a blistering hot day comes to an end down here at Drayton on the boards, it's been a very, very close fought battle. The green team, they've probably just pipped it. Mark Pitch is getting a few fish off the top, and of course Marky B knocking him out on the Zig Rigs. But now, what's going to happen? Well, night is drawing in. The fish will be dropping down in the water column as the water cools down and feeding on any spot that's going to be left on those spots. I reckon a tactical change is going to be in order. They're going to be moving to solid bags, sticks and stocking mesh bags for the course of the night, and I reckon it's going to be pretty eventful. If you're a regular reader of Crafty Carper or Carpology magazine, you'll know that I do quite a bit of diving, and one of the things I've picked up over the last few years that's really, really important is indication. We always test everybody on their indication. It's all very well getting a bite, but if you don't know about it at this end, you've got no chance of landing that fish. So Scott's been battering them down this left hand side. Your indication is absolutely spot on, and I've noticed you've changed it a little bit. Just talk us through your indication.
Yeah, well, yesterday I was using the Zig Rigs. Twitch, and basically whilst I'm Zig fishing I want to use a reasonably heavy lake, personal preference, and a big bobbin. If you're fishing up in the water, you don't need to keep the end tackle or near your lead area conspicuous, because you're getting bites up in the water. So in order to make the bite indication better, I fish bigger leads, tight lines, big bobbins, but obviously on this occasion now we switched into the night, and we're now fishing down the edge, close in down this margin. So I've taken the large heads off the core light bobbins, and we're now just fishing with a small head. Basically that's a lighter setup now. So what it means is that my line's not being taut straight from my rod tip down to my lead. I want my lead core and a little bit of line just on the bottom, so the area around where we're getting bites, the fish are feeling safe because they're not bumping into lines or lead cores. So the little bobbin, really, it just ensures that the line's not pulled too tight.
You can also actually use that as a fish finding aid as well, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we've seen this morning, when I position the rod down this margin, I've had a couple of liners, and that's the fish coming in close, just touching the line, and that's between my rod tip and the area where my line's on the bottom. So that indicates to me that the fish are closer this way. So all I've done when I've had a little dry spell is just move the bait back a little bit or recast it a little bit shorter, and then we're finding the spot where the fish are coming through into the boards.
Now, these are NTXRs. They're the top of the range alarm, and they are, it's fair to say, quite complex. You can get a sounder box with them, great range on it. They've got the night lights, they've got the security system. The three main controls that are on most alarm are volume, tone and sensitivity. Tone is obviously a personal preference. Volume depends on what you need to do. And remember guys, if you are fishing, try and keep it so you can hear it. We all don't want to hear it. Keep the noise down a little bit. But the sensitivity option is the one I'd like to talk to you about. Where and when do you change the sensitivity? What tips and advice can you give the guys that are watching this?
Well, at the moment, whilst I'm fishing close in, like we say, we're fishing for line bites and stuff, I've got the sensitivity quite high, because with the slack line and the light bobbin I can pick up all the movement, which indicates where the fish are for me. If I was going a little bit further out, oh, there we go, there's another little liner. If I'm fishing further out, and it's a windy condition or something like that, I don't want false bleeps, so I'll turn the sensitivity back down a little bit. So you just got to adjust it to the conditions that you're fishing in, really.
There we go, that's alarms in a nutshell. Remember that one bobbin doesn't necessarily suit every situation. Think about getting two different types. That's a great tip and it helps you with your indication. And remember, if you're getting good indication, one, you'll land more fish, and two, it will give you tips as to where they are.
So as the water temperature cooled last night, we moved away from the Zig Rigs and started to fish solid PVA bags. What I'll do is I'll talk you through the rigs that we're using for that. I've got a length of adaptive camouflage lead core. This is so I can just pin the area behind the lead down on the bottom to stop spooking the fish. We then got a 3 ounce inline lead. 3 ounces is about right for here, the range that we're fishing, plus also it's the the right amount of weight to get that bag down to the bottom. Then we go down to a reflex supple braided hook length. Obviously that's going to be put inside the bag, so we need a supple hook length to get everything inside the bag. A short shank beaked point hook and a little bottom bait. Because we're using a bottom bait, I'm going for the beak point hook, because then if the fish are moving the bottom bait around on the bottom, the beak on the hook is protecting the hook point so it doesn't get marred or blunted on the bottom. So these rigs are now available as a ready tied rig, so if you don't want to tie the rig yourself, you can now buy them ready tied, and they're available in twin packs from us. So what we'll do, this is the rig, and then we'll show you how to put that together inside a solid PVA bag and cast it out to catch fish. Solid bag fishing used to be a little bit tedious and time consuming, but now with the help of the Rapid system we've improved this and made it quick and easy for you, which is essential in a match fishing situation like this. The Rapid kits themselves come in various sizes. These are the kits, but there are also refills available, so once your bags and the kits have run out, you can buy top-ups and refills for them. In the kits themselves there is the loading tool itself, also a locking collar, and the PVA bags themselves as well. So what we'll do now, we'll just put that solid, that rig that we put together earlier on, put it inside a solid bag and show you where we've been catching and how we've been doing it. So firstly, I want to take the loading collar, or the locking, put the locking collar onto the tool. This just makes it easy to put it inside the solid PVA bag. Feed the tool into the bag and release the locking collar. As you can see now, the bag's nice and tight on the tool itself. So what we'll do, we'll just scoop a little bit of pellet up, leave a gap in the corner of the bag there. We'll swing the rig in. I want the bottom bait into the corner of the bag. Let the pellet cover it up and then feed the lead into the bottom of the bag. Now you can scoop some pellet up or just feed it in with your hand. I'll just feed some in with my hand for you. So I'm going to get plenty of pellet in there, and then what we want to do is compact that pellet inside the bag. So just get a flat surface, just to condense and compact the pellet. Now this is the easy and quick thing about the Rapid bag. All we want to do now is take the tool and the bag, twist them together at the same time, therefore essentially locking the bag off. No need to tie any PVA tape or anything around this. Now we're going to push the bag back over itself. We get it till the PVA is just level with this ridge here, and then we're going to moisten that all the way around. And I'll keep pushing it over the bag, and basically that's transferring the sticky side of the PVA onto the bag. I'll just use the tool there just to tighten the bag up, and then basically what we'll do, the bag's already tied, we'll tidy it up just by pushing the corners in, licking them and sticking them. So we want the bag nice and compact and tight, just so it drops down through the water column quickly. So there we have it, the bag's tied. You can see how easy and fast that was, and that's ready to cast out now. Let's catch another fish.
Right, I'm going to show you a product that is very, very special now. It's been causing a real stir with carp anglers on the bank of late. It's called the Super Brolly, and I'm going to show you exactly what makes this so super. If you come with me, it's inside. This is called the STS mechanism. It stands for self-tensioning system, and you'll notice straight away it sits far higher inside the brolly than on a traditional umbrella system, where the spokes would maybe come about here. You'd be banging your head on them, as you'll see. Look, I'm now sat on a bed chair, upright. I'm not smashing my head against the ribs. I can see out, I can watch the water. It's fantastic. And also, it's made from fiberglass, which makes it extremely strong, yet very lightweight. Again, weight is a massive issue on a short session. You want to keep things as light as possible. Moving on, you'll see we've got extended sides here. This gives far greater coverage inside. We've got a big barra bag, we've got a bivvy table. On the other side here, we've got buckets. Everything that I need for a short session is inside this umbrella. It gives more space than a traditional. In fact, I think it's slightly confused. It thinks it's a bivvy, it's got that much space. Another great feature, comes supplied with storm poles, two 24-inch ones. And rather than having to unclip them and unscrew them at the end of a session, you can simply swing them in and clip them in here, saving valuable time again, another really handy feature. Final feature I want to talk to you about is the optional front fiberglass pole. Now this gives far greater stability to the shelter than what you'd normally get with an umbrella. It goes across the front from the bottom corner to the next bottom corner, right across the front. Now this not only gives stability, it also helps to aid the rainwater dispersion. This pushes it that way, it pushes it that way, and it doesn't allow it to come that way. Final thing before I forget, heavy duty ground sheet. So that's the whistle stop tour of the new Fox Super Brolly. I've got mine, and if you like the look of it and want to know more, then why don't you ask your local Fox stockist to see one in more detail.
Now, all sorts of tactics work on the day, and one of the best bits of advice we can give you is to do what you're confident in. Different people like different methods, and we've got a prime example now. Mark, you're using the mesh system rather than solid bags.
That's
Just talk us through why.
Well, the reason why I've chosen to fish like this is purely for the speed factor. You can have loads of bags pre-tied, it only takes seconds to make. Loads of bags pre-tied up, so if action's coming thick and fast, simply a case, hooking one on, cast it out, you're angling.
It's actually a very easy, usable method as well, because you can do it very quick when you're fishing, not just in speed or in matches, but in a normal pleasure situation.
That's
as well.
Right, yeah. I mean, these are the systems that come on the tube to different sizes. You got a wide, a narrow, and a super narrow. I've been using the wide one here, and that's the system. They come with a plunger if you want to use like a stick mix or a ground bait, but I'm just using pellets. I've got the PVA fitted on the tube here. Simply a case, handful of pellets in, pull the mesh off. So you got a little bag of pellets there, twist it round, overhand knot, and pull it down nice and tight, and then tie another overhand knot, a couple of inches above it. And then just snip it to create a little tag for you to hook on.
Now, rig-wise, what sort of rig would you put that on? Normally with the solid PVA bag you'd use a supple link, but you're not, you're using a strippable braid.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, I'm using the Cortex ready tied rigs here. I like the coated braid, it doesn't tangle. Obviously with a solid PVA bag it isn't going to tangle, so you can use the braided hook links. But I like this coated braid which definitely won't tangle. That's the Cortex, and that runs down to a size 6 barbless hook, which is finished off with a little liner sleeve. And these rigs are as good as anything you could tie up yourself. Superb.
So just show us with that how you would nick one on, and then I suggest you cast it out into the pond and see if it can catch us a carp. You can go through quite a lot of these as well, can't you? So you can get refills.
That's right, yep. You don't have to go out and buy a full new system. You can buy the 6 metre refills and just thread them back on the tube. Right, well I've noticed a few fish moving in and out of these boards that we've been fishing on. So I've been trickling in a little bit of bait. I think it's about time to drop a rig down there. Got a little bag I've tied up already. Hook that on. I'm just going to lower that just a few feet out where I've been trickling this bait in. A little handful of pellets and hemp over the top. And there we go. And there's a few, these boards are quite snaggy. So I'm using the Ranger XTS rod in the 3-pound test curve. It's a very versatile rod, but it's also got plenty of power to drag them away from all these posts and that underneath these platforms. Walk this back to the rod, put it on the alarm, and hopefully a bite won't be too far away.
think for the purposes of this competition we're going to have to call it a draw. It's just quite simply too close to call. They've all caught very, very consistently, whether it's on the top, in the mid-water or on the bottom. It just goes to show that when you get it right, carp fishing isn't difficult, and we've had some brilliant advice from a great bunch of lads. Next time you're out and about on the banks, we hope you can put a few of these tips and tricks into operation and we help make your day. In the meantime, if you'd like to keep in touch with us, you can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, or alternatively through the website at www.foxint.com. Until then, find them, feed them and fox them.